Cold showers, meditation, breath work, walking barefoot in nature, even submerging in ice baths. All of these have been said to help rebalance the body's parasympathetic nervous system to help one achieve a beneficial superhuman state of Zen. But what if there was a way to more directly stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system? Well, it turns out there might be. In the realm of biohacking and longevity, there has been more and more of an interest in vagal nerve stimulation, improving physical and mental recovery, thus elevating one's potential. What exactly is involved in this sci-fi-like technique? Does it actually work? Well, that's exactly what I wanted to find out. So over the course of 30 days, I used various devices and techniques to try to directly stimulate my vagus nerve. This is what happened. But you gotta focus. So I started this experiment off by taking some baseline heart rate variability measurements. If you don't know what heart rate variability is, it's essentially a measurement of how ready you are to react to stress. Typically, the higher the resting HRV, the more ready you are. Now, mine has been averaging around mid-50s before doing this experiment, and for the past couple of months, with the exception of sometimes bumping up into the 60s, but then sometimes also bumping down into the 40s. A goal of mine that I'm hoping to achieve through this experiment is consistently higher morning HRV measurements. So how is the vagus nerve related to this? Well, the vagus nerve is in large control of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for bringing the body into a rest and digest state. Now, being in a well-rested and digested state usually results in a higher heart rate variability. Now, sometimes when things get out of whack, an individual might sustain a fight or flight state for longer than needed. When sustained for too long, this can hinder recovery and result in a lower heart rate variability. Now, in my opinion, in today's world, I think there are so many factors that can negatively affect one's nervous system balance, keeping them more in a fight or flight state. At least that's how I have been feeling some of the time. Now, it has been theorized that being in this fight or flight state for too long can potentially cause the vagus nerve to get out of whack. So to summarize my understanding of the use of vagus nerve stimulation for this case would be to perhaps jumpstart the vagus nerve, thus jumpstarting the rebalance of the parasympathetic nervous system, helping to increase the rest and digest state when necessary, thus improving HRV. Now, unlike trying to improve this biomarker by naturally stimulating the vagus nerve by means I described in the beginning of this video, the focus of this experiment was to look into electric vagus nerve stimulation devices, and that I did. And to my surprise, there has recently been an influx of consumer vagal nerve stimulation devices. However, getting started with this experiment, I wanted to try the DIY method. Based on a review of various studies looking at vagal nerve stimulation, as well as watching various videos online, it appeared to me the most cost-effective way at do-it-yourself vagus nerve stimulation consisted of purchasing a simple transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation or TENS unit. You know, those devices you typically see like athletes use to send electrical signals through the muscles. It makes the muscle like pulse. It's been shown to help manage pain and possibly aid in recovery. Well, yeah, that device, but with custom ear clips, so that I can send that pulse into my ear and supposedly stimulate the vagus nerve through that. I don't know if this exactly sounded the most kosher and safe, but I mean, I assume the risks. And before we get into any more of this electrical vagal nerve stimulation using the TENS unit or a device I'm going to use in the future, I want to make it clear there is a list of people and conditions and certain scenarios that should not do this. And as always, consult your physician before doing anything like this. However, I was cleared. I am turning up the intensity very slowly. Wait a minute. Hold on. We were supposed to wet the electrodes. Be fine, it should work. Okay. Oh, gosh. Oh. Okay, that wasn't as bad as I was thinking. It's not like it's actually not even like an electric shock. It's more like like someone's taking a jackhammer in my head. It's at about a 3 right now. I guess that's my pain threshold. Whatever that is in the milliamps or whatever. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna let it run for 18 minutes. And we're stimulating the vagus nerve, I think. So if you're wondering how I set the parameters on the TENS unit device, I basically looked at a review of a bunch of vagus nerve stimulation studies using this similar ear clip technique. There are actually a lot looking at its effect on many different things, but I tried to choose one that I found produced a good result, as well as that could be mimicked using my TENS unit. And I found this one study on vagal nerve stimulation for divergent thinking that I thought would work well for mimicking the parameters. Attaching the ear clip to the concha, stimulating at 25 Hertz, with a pulse width between 0.2 and 0.3 milliseconds. I did 0.25 milliseconds, or on my TENS unit that was 250 microseconds. And then for the intensity of 0.5 milliamps, because my TENS unit doesn't have the exact amperage it puts out, just a dial indicating the strength, I chose to dial the strength right below pain threshold because that's what it seems like most of these other studies look at for a limit to go to when trying to stimulate the vagus nerve therapeutically. Now also this study did 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 40 minutes, but because my TENS unit was pretty basic and didn't have that option, I cut the difference and just did 20 minutes straight. Now 20 minutes straight is actually a long time to have these ear clips on and this thing buzzing in my head. While the buzzing wasn't super annoying, just sitting and staring at the wall kind of was. So along with this first session, I just kind of did some normal morning stuff, getting some coffee, reading, doing some dishes, waiting for the 20 minutes to be over to once again take an HRV snapshot to see if there was any improvements. Done. HRV is 56. So my morning HRV this morning was 58, and my snapshot was 56. So decreased by 2. Maybe it's more of like a long-term thing, so I probably just need to take more measurements over time. As of right now, after doing that for 20 minutes, I don't feel superhuman, I'll tell you that, but I can't even say I feel any different, but we'll just keep doing this and keep reporting to you guys how I'm feeling. Now for the next several days, I continued to take my morning HRV immediately after waking and then my HRV snapshot immediately after using the TENS device for 20 minutes. And nearly every single day, my HRV after using the device was less than my morning snapshot. Now I thought maybe it could be more of a long-term thing and it would just be an increase in my morning snapshot over time. So I took the average of my morning snapshot over these next several days and it seemed to be trending slightly higher towards the upper 50s, while my immediately post-stimulation was significantly less than it was before, at just 50 flat. Was I actually having a slight overall improvement in morning HRV, or was stimulating my vagus nerve just temporarily making my HRV worse? Could it seriously be the fact that it is so uncomfortable to put that clip on the ear that it's actually causing me irritation to the point where my HRV is suffering? It's not even the shock, it's not even like the buzz or whatever. That doesn't even feel bad. It's literally the stupid clip. Maybe my ears are just way too small. Yeah, I was 66 before I took this, and now I'm 49 again. So I know this sounds lame, but I'm telling you, the pressure from those little ear clips on that sensitive part of the ear for so much time, day after day, was starting to make my ear tender and sore. It was literally very irritating, to perhaps the point where it might have been negatively affecting my HRV measurements. Now luckily at this time I was in contact with a company who makes portable nerve stimulation devices specifically for the reasons I was looking for. Anyways, this company, Hoolest, located in Arizona, agreed to send me one of their VeRelief Prime units to try out and feature in this video. And by day 7 I had received the product and was excited to open it and try it out and see if I would get any different sort of results. Okay, here goes nothing. Oh! I'm such a weenie. Oh! So it's very similar to the earpiece, except for it's more intense, but less sharp. Like the earpiece I was feeling like right here, and like here-ish, if I got it right. This is like, it's really spreading. But the earpiece was also like, really sharp kinda. And this is like, more intense, but gentle. It felt like it was more intensely stimulating the area, but softer, like just more comfortable. And I don't know if that was because the ear clips were just so annoying, or maybe it just had better electrode contact on the side of the neck. Regardless, after using the device 1 minute on each side of the neck, I then took an HRV snapshot, and thankfully it showed improvement not only after the snapshot taken immediately after using the TENS unit, but improvements over my initial morning HRV that day. Now, could this just be a coincidence? Well, I wanted to take a lot more measurements day after day, and that I did. Now, 3 out of the next 4 days, my HRV actually declined when comparing my morning HRV to the HRV taken after doing 20 minutes of the ear clips. However, after taking that measurement, all 4 of those days showed improvements after using the Hoolest device for just 1 minute on each side.
The ear clip electrodes are only hitting a tiny little branch of the nerve inside the ear, but what we're hitting is, think of it like a tree. You've got the branches, and then down on the below, you got the tree trunk. So you're lighting up like all the branches at once.
That makes sense because, yeah, when I was having this thing like on, you can like feel it. It's not only like going through the neck, but you can feel it almost like encompassing the entire ear as well.
There's a lot more skin surface area, so you can have a flush connection with those gel tips, which is really important for comfort. The ear, it's like there's so many contours that it's hard to have a really flush connection, which is why it gets sharp a lot of the time.
So it did seem to simply make sense that just having a more comfortable, better connection using the VeRelief Prime on the neck region rather than the ear clips on the ear would be a more efficient approach. And also when doing my research, when looking at more serious implanted medical vagus nerve stimulators, they appear to be targeting the nerve in the neck region. Now, because it seemed to be more efficient and working better for me, I decided to stop using the ear clips and TENS unit for the next several days and just stick to the Hoolest VeRelief Prime. Now, over the next several days, I noticed my morning HRV seemed to be trending up, as well as every time immediately after using the VeRelief Prime, I had a few points improvement in my HRV snapshot. Now, at the end of the day, these are just numbers. What really matters, to me at least, is how I was actually feeling and performing on a daily basis. What's up, guys? So on a day-to-day basis over these last couple weeks, I do have to say I have been feeling more zen, calm, cool, collected, and just kind of having that look. If you saw my looks maxing video, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm being actually serious. I do feel like I have a more calm state of mind over these last couple of weeks, less anxious around certain points of the day especially. And could that be due to using these external devices to stimulate my vagus nerve? Possibly. But it also could be just the fact that I have that focus in my mindset of trying to make myself more zen and focusing on myself having a better heart rate variability, having a better state of mind, etc. So I'm thinking about it more, I'm focusing on it more. It's one of my goals throughout this experiment. Thus, I'm starting to achieve that goal. Now, there are times throughout the day where I am certain, based on my own experience from using this thing, that this thing really seems to help me with. And those areas are typically areas around more stressful activities or times where I'm going into a more stressful situation and it's like, I'm a little too anxious and probably shouldn't be this anxious. This seems to help me bring myself back down from that. So typically for me, that would be maybe before like just having a ton of work to do and being like overwhelmed and just like, my mind's racing all over the place and kind of getting anxious, like, am I gonna get it done? This seems to help bring the anxiety down, at least for me, right before jumping into that workload. Now, another time I've really been finding this beneficial to use for myself is after like an intense workout, but before a post-workout meal. A lot of the times in the past, going into my like post-workout meal or heck, even dinner sometimes, if I had such an intense workout, I have trouble calming myself down from all that like stimulation from the training session, and eating the meal, it just doesn't seem to digest well. Like sometimes I'll get like heartburn and whatnot. But using this right before eating that meal, it just seems to like take me out of that state, calm me down, put me more into a rest and digest state. And I feel like I've been having better digestion during my post-workout meal, during dinners that are maybe more hearty than others, etc. And that's bringing me to another time I've been really finding this useful, and that's right before bed, especially on those nights where maybe I did look at my phone a little too long. This seems to bring me back down. And throughout this experiment, when using this right before bed, I've been going to bed within 30 minutes or less, which is huge for me, guys, because usually it takes me like 30 minutes minimum on a good day. So I continued using the VeRelief Prime on a regular basis day to day for the remainder of this experiment, but I did not want to give up on my whole Jimmy rigged ear clip 10s unit thingy just yet. So actually just in the mail, I got these new electrode ear clips that look like they have more surface area than these little guys right here. So they might be more comfortable on my ear. And honestly, the springs feel a little bit more gentle too. So out with the old, in with the new. Okay, and I actually don't know which one's which. Oh man, this looks a little ominous, honestly. Looks like it goes on that fine. Get the concha. It's a little more comfortable than the last one. Too weird. Oh gosh, it's on. We're gonna turn it up. Should probably test this out on another zone of my body before I just put it on my ear. Oh, there it is. Still a bit uncomfortable, obviously, on that like ear cartilage, but this feels so much better than these ones did. Feeling a lot more comfortable than the old ear clips at first, I did still feel that similar, more sharper stimulatory effect, as opposed to the more softer but denser stimulation that I got from the Hoolest VeRelief Prime. Now towards the end of the 20 minutes, the ear clips started to get a lot more uncomfortable and annoying, just like before. I know, I'm such a weenie, but still, just like, ugh. Oh. Thank God. And then, unfortunately, just like before, once again taking my heart rate variability snapshot right after using my ear clip setup, I noticed a decline compared to my morning HRV. My morning HRV was 59, but my HRV snapshot was just 52. So we actually just saw a decline in my heart rate variability. All these measurements are getting annoying, to be honest with you, on top of this, but just the ear clips, man, like that's not for me, all right? I'm sorry, guys, that's just not for me. So I just stuck to what was working for me for the next several days, and that was using the VeRelief Prime in the morning before my post-workout meal and sometimes at night before bed. I continued to take my HRV data as well as take note of how I was feeling throughout the final days of this experiment. So hopefully at the end of this, I would be able to look at all of the data that I took as well as my own personal notes and perhaps come up with an optimal way to implement this into my day-to-day routine to further my biohacking quest. What's up, Home Slice? Here is all the data I took over these 30 days, and here's what it means. Anyways, in the blue right here is my preliminary data. This is before I used any of these electric stimulator devices. Now, my average of these first 7 days was approximately 54.7. Moving over to the experimental data right here, in the green is my morning baseline HRV right before doing any form of stimulation. But the average of my 30 days of doing vagal nerve stimulation is approximately 57.7, 3 points higher than the average of the preliminary data throughout the entire experiment. Now this gray line resembles taking my heart rate variability immediately after using the 10s unit on the parameters that I set for 20 minutes. And you can see almost every time is a little bit lower than my morning HRV, except for this one point right here. Now when I started to use the Hoolest device, mode 3, there's a couple of different modes, and I'm going to get to that in just a second, but using mode 3, 1 minute each side, resembled by the yellow here, and we can see this line is actually almost always higher than my morning HRV data by about 5 points some days even it looks like it went up a ton right here. And then this red line right here actually resembles mode 4, which I'm not certain I touched on in this video yet, but mode 4 uses the same frequency of stimulation, and I kept the intensity the same, about a little bit under halfway. But mode 4, what it does is it gives you about a 5 to 6 second spurt of stimulation and then a 5 to 6 second no stimulation. Now, in order to maximally benefit from this mode, the idea is to coherently breathe along with the device. So when it is stimulating between 5 and 6 seconds, you want to exhale slowly, and then when it's paused and not stimulating, you want to inhale slowly. So what exactly is coherent breathing? It's essentially syncing up your breath with your heart rate variability, and it's actually one of the quickest ways to improve your heart rate variability just by breathing, just by this conscious breathing about 6 breaths a minute. Now, I'm not certain this idea, having that stimulation along with the coherent breathing, was derived from any studies or if it was just kind of like some idea that's specific to this device. But regardless, I decided to use it, and resembled in the orange here is when I started using mode 4, that is doing the coherent breathing along with this device. And once again, pretty much every single day doing mode 4 is above my morning HRV. But this time it seems like it's actually above morning HRV quite significantly, except for this one day right here. My average HRV right after using mode 3 was approximately 61.7, and my average HRV after using mode 4 is approximately 65.5. So that was definitely the highest average out of all of the stimulations, tests, modes, and whatnot so far. Now in this data, I didn't include that one session I had with these new ear clips I got right here. I felt like it wasn't working, it was worse, and it was just a one-off, but yeah, that would be like right down here. So that's the data I took. Let me know what you guys think. Now I'm gonna answer a few questions that might arise. First of all, if you didn't notice, when using the TENS unit for the stimulation, I was doing like a 20-minute session, and I had set some specific parameters. When I was using this device, I was only doing about a 2-minute session, 1 minute on each side. Also, the frequency I chose to set on the TENS unit was at 25 Hertz. The frequency that is in mode 3 and 4 on the VeRelief Prime is approximately 100 Hertz. Now, on the VeRelief Prime, they do have mode 1 at 8 Hertz and mode 2 at 25 Hertz. But I didn't use mode 2 on this experiment, I used mode 3 at 100 Hertz. So if I would have set the frequency to 100 Hertz on this thing, would I have done better? Well, I actually did that for one session at first, didn't notice much of a difference at all, still had that same annoying irritation in the ear. I really think the downfall of the ear clips isn't what it was set to, but rather the ear clips themselves. Now I know there's a few other things I could have tested, maybe only using the TENS device for like 2 minutes, then taking HRV. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten irritated, but then once I started using the VeRelief Prime, it just felt like it had a better surface connection. It just felt like it had more contact with the right area. But a downside of the VeRelief Prime is, what if perhaps for some reason, for maybe certain situations, one wanted to do a longer term stimulation session, you know, like 20 minutes or whatever. Well, yeah, then this technically would be annoying to have to hold there, I guess, if that would even be suggested. You know, this is only really suggested for like 2 minutes of use at a time. So I guess that's where the ear clips could come in handy. But for my case, for me, it really seemed like this did the trick, at least for kind of like what I was having an issue at. Calming myself down after a very stimulatory event, or calming myself down before bed if I'm unfortunately looking at my phone too much, or just maybe calming myself down so I can focus better before going into a stressful event or an anxiety-inducing event. But no, yeah, from my experience, for my use cases, this seemed to work the best. Another question might be, is this just an acute effect? Like if I just use this device, my HRV shows that it's a lot higher, but that's only for a minute. Well, that is where we look at the morning HRV, that is before stimulating myself with any of these devices during the day. So that first reading in the morning, and there is actually a trend here. So my preliminary morning HRV before even jumping into this experiment was 54.7. Then just using the TENS device, my morning HRV average was 56.2. So a slight trend up. And then just using the Hoolest VeRelief Prime a couple times a day, my average morning HRV for those days was 58.5. So that is potentially continuing that trend higher. And if you even look at the chart, it does look like the line for morning HRV stabilized and kind of lined out towards the end of this experiment. So maybe there was a more long-term effect happening just by electrically stimulating my vagus nerve using either of these methods. But for me going forward, for convenience, for concealability, portability, and just easiness of use, what I will be doing going forward is using the Hoolest VeRelief Prime, and I will be probably using modes 3 and 4. I found like those worked really well for me to get me into that rest and digest state to hopefully optimize recovery. Now with that being said, there are actually a bunch of vagus nerve stimulation devices that are available for consumers to purchase out there right now. I was looking at an article that was comparing some of the top ones, yada yada yada, you can check that out. But I did sign up for the Hoolest VeRelief Prime affiliate program, and if you were interested in purchasing one of these, I do have an affiliate link in the description. If you go to that link and use code FOCUS25, you should get 25% off a VeRelief Prime. Now that should only be valid until December 24th, 2023. So if you were interested on that, you can get 25% off until then using that link and that code at the checkout. Shout out to Hoolest for sending me this, hooking me up with that affiliate code. And one more thing on a courtesy, if you do want to biohack and just improve your HRV but not spend any money and literally just do it right now with yourself, a method you can use is coherent breathing. That's approximately breathing 6-ish breaths a minute. So do like a 5 count in and then a 5 count on the exhale. Sit in a quiet room, do the coherent breathing about 1 to 2 minutes, and you'll notice right after that you'll feel a lot better. And that's probably because your HRV is increasing, you're going into a more rest and digestive state, and you're just more optimizing recovery. You don't even need to take the readings, you should just be able to feel it. But if you do want to take the readings and see if you do get an improvement, it's something interesting to do if you do have a chest strap monitor or a finger monitor or whatever. But yeah, coherent breathing, it's a free, simple, fast way to improve HRV and something you can do on the daily to help you just biohack yourself for free. But yeah, vagal nerve stimulation, if you are interested in it, my affiliate link will be in the description for this product, and you can use my code FOCUS25 to get 25% off. Otherwise, you can check out all those other products, you know, do your own research, blah, 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 whatever you want to do. Hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe, stay tuned, turn those notifications on. Peace. I will see you all in the next video.